Well, you know who didn't get through another day? Paul Reubens. And this was a tough one for me. I was such a fan of Pee-wee Herman. 1985 Pee-wee's Big Adventure comes out. I'm 8 years old, and I mean, if I wasn't made for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I don't know what. Saw it on HBO. I didn't see it in the theater, but saw it on HBO at a friend's house, and he just threw it on like it was no big deal, and I was just like, yeah, sounds good, and I was just like pushing him away, like, no, I gotta watch this. It just had everything. I loved it. It had great humor, and I just loved everything about Pee-wee and his individuality, and just, I was a kid growing up I couldn't blend in. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't blend in. And so seeing a character like Pee-wee Herman, I thought was great. And then, of course, the Pee-wee's Playhouse that came on a year afterwards, and I loved that show. I had a Pee-wee Herman themed birthday party one year. Got the big pull string talking doll, and I just loved it. Loved Pee-wee Herman. So I was really bummed when I heard about his passing, and the fact that he had been ill for 6 years and did not disclose this to even some of his closest friends. Most people didn't know that he was suffering the way he was. He was doing a lot of convention appearances pre-COVID. He would show up at various cons, and of course the lines would just be crazy for him because there's a lot of fans. But after COVID, he stopped doing them, and the line was, COVID, not feeling it, not going out there. But I think we know now in retrospect that it was because he has been quite ill. But enough of me gushing about Pee-wee. There's a huge Star Wars connection with Pee-wee Herman. If you don't remember Paul Reubens. And so why should we as Star Wars fans be mourning the great Paul Reubens?
Well, Jason, you said it. He made contributions to Star Wars, most notably in the original Star Tours ride, where he voiced the pilot, which we knew as Captain Rex before Captain Rex was
Not
a clone.
Not that Captain Rex, right?
Here he is. I have the figure here in front of me. This is Captain Rex from Star Tours, the original Star Tours, and it was voiced by Pee-wee Herman. This little thing pops up and down.
Oh, look how cool that is.
And so, and so he pilots the ship. And it was really interesting, a cool little piece of trivia to know that it was Paul Reubens providing the voice for the Star Tours ride. Because I'm just trying to get my timeline together. Yeah. Pee-wee, he ran into some controversy in like the early 90s. Yeah. But at this point in time, when Paul provided the voice for RX-24, aka Captain Rex on Star Tours, he was really at the height of his popularity. A couple years removed from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I think 87 was, I don't know when that big top Pee-wee came out, but he was like maybe right in between films.
88. Yeah.
And he had, and he had that TV show that was happening. I never saw the show. I knew of Pee-wee. He used to appear on the David Letterman show all the time.
Oh yeah. Right.
And if you check out David Letterman's YouTube channel, you'll see that they've been putting up a lot of great Pee-wee Herman clips from the prime of his career in the 80s. And then, of course, he appeared in the Blues Brothers. He was the waiter at the Chez Paul. He was in the Cheech and Chong movies. He was the hamburger guy. And consuming a lot more than just hamburgers. Right. Star Tours was where he made his initial mark on Star Wars. And we have a little clip here from the actual ride itself, the ride in a motion simulator where you're watching projected images on a screen, sort of like resembling what you're seeing outside the viewport on board this starship. And you'll hear, here's a little minute from the original Star Tours, where you'll hear the voice of Pee-wee Herman, Paul Reubens, as your flight Captain Rex.
Hi there! I see they're loading our navigator R2-D2, and then we'll be on our way. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
Star Tours 45, elevator platform has been activated. Commence final pre-launch sequence.
Roger, Control. All status, go.
ST-45, you are cleared for takeoff. Contact departure control at 120.4.
Copy 120.4.
45, you're going the wrong way. Stop immediately.
Uh-oh. Wrong way. Brakes! Brakes! Where are the brakes? I meant to do that. A little shortcut.
Classic Pee-wee line. I meant to do that. I love it.
I recall him yelling and screaming a lot more on the ride, but I think that was me. No, it was you, Swank. Swank made it about a minute in the ride before he was hurling in his lap.
Close my eyes.
So that's the original Star Tours, and that featured the voice of Paul Reubens until they revamped it a couple decades afterwards.
Yeah.
But the original guy who worked on that project, that original Star Tours, is a legendary Disney Imagineer named Tony Baxter. And he was like the guy that was going between Disney and George Lucas. And he's a legend. Disney fans are crazy about Tony Baxter. And me and Jason had the opportunity to have an exclusive interview with him years ago where he gave us the down low on working with George and developing Star Tours, and even he told us some great stories about even being invited into George Lucas's inner sanctum briefly.
Yeah, the comic book collection he got to see.
Like, and he really felt like he and George were becoming friends. But George threw down and said, "Hey, I like working with you professionally, but I just got too much going on in my real life to really add any more friends." Classic George Lucas hospitality right there on display. Classic.
Absolutely.
Jeez,
I got enough friends. I'm sorry. It's just an obligation.
Guy's not good. Marshall Lucas is probably like, yeah, I know.
Tell me about it.
So Tony Baxter, he talked to us here on RFR, and he told us a little bit about working with or how Paul Reubens got involved in the project.
How did Pee-wee Herman, Paul Reubens, get involved in the original Star Tours?
Well, Tom Fitzgerald, who was the writer on the first show, in fact, led the entire effort on the reimagining that's just opening now. He was in charge of hiring talent like that for the theme parks productions group here. And he had a really good knack, I think, intuition about what would make a great personality taken out of the Pee-wee realm and put into something there. And, I can't think of a voice that would have expressed a rookie who was unsure and trying to act cocky and at the same time. It's just a perfect balance. It was a perfect choice on his part for that role.
Was this something, it was just, you had Paul Reubens in mind. It's not anything he actually auditioned for or anything. It was just.
No, I did. I just knew that George had come to us and said, I want to use, I don't want a Dudley Do-Right for the pilot. I want like a rookie guy that's, very skittish and kind of unsure of himself. And then yet turning around to the guests and sort of saying, I meant to do that, And Tom, he said, I just think, the guy that does Pee-wee Herman, I didn't even know who Paul Reubens was. And he said, I think he could do a great job on that. So he hired him and he went with it.
Yeah, there you go. So the rest is histoire. Pee-wee Herman.
Yes.
But
he made such a huge impact on it that Dave Filoni gave Paul Reubens a cameo in the first season of Star Wars Rebels as Captain Rex, flying a ship transporting Kanan Jarrus and Sabine and Hera and Ezra and Chopper. So we have a brief little clip of Paul Reubens on Star Wars Rebels.
Sentients, please prepare for takeoff.
Hey, pilot, isn't there some rule against droids in the passenger area? I am sorry, sir. Your astromech must proceed to the back of the craft.
That was such a cool Easter egg. That was great.
Little
to
Easter egg
see
there's
Pee-wee back.
to pay tribute to Paul, because obviously by this point in time, Star Tours 2.0 had premiered.
Yeah.
And Paul Reubens' voice was scrubbed from the ride. Instead, your host for the ride is C-3PO. And it's no longer Captain Rex, aka RX-24. So Captain Rex out at Star Tours. Paul Reubens, Pee-wee Herman, appeared at San Diego Comic-Con in 2011, and he spoke a little bit about being a little frosted that his voice was dumped from Star Tours.
I didn't even know they were taking my voice out of Star Tours until I was in a situation like this and somebody asked a question, just like you're doing right now, said, Pee-wee, how do you feel about your voice being taken out of Star Tours? And I was like, what? I didn't even know.
Well, actually, you can still kind of hear your voice in the queue. Like, Captain Rex is like short-circuiting. He's like going, hi there.
Is there any good news?
So my question is...
I'll tell you one thing, though, before that you didn't ask, that I'm going to tell you anyway. As long as my voice was used in the park, I had a free pass to go anytime I wanted, me plus 3 people, and I went all the time. I go all the time. Well, I was upset. You can imagine how upsetting it would be to have your voice ripped from the George Lucas ride and then have the pass ripped out of your hand, and, which I cared more about than the voice, really.
Oh, he lost the pass, too.
Oh, no. Oh, you couldn't...
How could they take the pass away from Pee-wee? Could you imagine sitting on Star Tours and you look over and Pee-wee Herman sitting next to you?
Yeah,
Jeez.
Looking pissed off. But just right, I forgot that in the new version, RX is on the sidelines. Malfunctioning. Oh, God.
So I guess they snuck his voice in somewhere you could hear him in the queue. But it's not the same. It's not the same. So Paul was upset, and I know you are, but what am I? I'm upset too. But it's all good. I mean, I believe that RX-24 is now spinning tunes in the cantina at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. So, we sat not too far away from RX when we were there in the cantina at Galaxy's Edge, and it was great. It was great. And we joke, but no, Paul Reubens and Pee-wee Herman had a profound impact on me growing up as a kid in the mid to late 80s. And so I really grew to appreciate him, and he was just always funny. And even my kids, the show still holds up. I remember when they were old enough to see it, and I got the Blu-ray set of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the Pee-wee's Playhouse, and the holiday special. That's something we watch every year. And he just had, he was just one of those people. He just had a way with kids and understood kids, and they responded to him, and it was great. It was great. So R.I.P. Pee-wee.